Okay, good evening, everybody. Looks like we had a little hiccup there on the other live broadcast, so my apologies for that. Looks like I think that we are back here, and hopefully you can see me here. Let's see, I might have this working correctly now. So my apologies for losing you for a second. I think that we are back. So as always, I'm going to say hello to you. I'm going to turn off my camera and we will go ahead and get started. And once again, if you have any questions, feel free to write them here on YouTube. I can see your questions. This is our PLR strategy call. And we do this every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can always pick it up at the plrshow.com/Tuesday training. You can bookmark that URL. And you can see the archive of all the other trainings that we have done for Tuesday, plrshow.com/Tuesday train, the plrshow.com/Tuesday playlist. Coming up on Saturday, we have the live podcast playbook, PLR. And once again, now, if you're an Ultimate Insider, you will have that product added to your October 2021 folder. So let's get into the strategy. Hello, Mike. Good to see you there. Let's get into the strategy. Tonight, we're going to be talking about creating a post-sale webinar training. So basically, after you have actually made the sale, you want to get the people that have purchased onto a training. You want to get them onto a webinar. Now, I call this a webinar, but please don't think of it as a place where you're going to do some high pressure sale. You can certainly do that. I mean, there are places for you to be able to put people into a webinar where they're going to buy a high ticket product. That is not what we are talking about here. What we're talking about here is basically a way for you to be able to upsell some of your other products and services. Why would you do this? So why do a post-sale webinar? One thing is that, you want to do some strategic marketing, the kind of things we talked about in strategic marketing playbook. And hopefully you have that, that PLR. You want to provide additional value to the people that have purchased your product. That first and foremost, everything else. So as soon as you do that, you decide, hey, I've already taught you something technical. I'm now going to teach you something. I'm going to provide you some additional value. That's going to help you. And you're also, obviously, anytime that you can get some people together live, where you're going to be talking about something that's going to benefit them, you're going to have additional sales opportunities just because you have them on the line. So you want to do this. You can do a better job of upselling your higher level sales and products because people are going to get to know you, right? So they're going to hear your voice. They're going to see your face, maybe. They're going to get a chance to hear you emote. They're going to get a chance to kind of get a feel for who you are. And so they are then going to then be able to, I think, better get a sense for what it is you're offering. You're going to get people interested in joining your list, right? Obviously. I mean, that first and foremost, I mean, if you don't do anything else, that's going to help you. And then just by doing this, right? Just by doing a post-sale webinar, you're going to be setting yourself apart. Most people aren't going to do this. Now, again, what I said here at the beginning, it's one of the things we're going to be doing, in some of our PLR coming up is I will actually record the session for you as if I were doing it. I'm going to take all the personal references out. So if you don't want to do it, like you don't feel like, well, Charles, I don't feel like doing a live session, right? That's not me. I'm going to record the session for you, and that'll be part of the product, right? Maybe one of the advanced versions or upsell. Now, here's what I say, and I kind of go back to what I just said. Anybody can do a sales webinar, right? Or you can put anybody on a sales webinar. There are people who will give you a back-end webinar and they will do a more high pressure sales. And there's a place for those. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is you being able to build rapport with the people that have already purchased from you. Not everybody can do this, right? Not everybody does this where after they've made the purchase, you're going to give them more value. So again, just as setting up your own USP and giving more value, it's a great thing to do. And it's really not even a lot of work. You've got to work on these sessions. It doesn't have to be long to just provide real value, right? So they feel like they receive value from the fact that they came to you live, right? That's what you want to do. especially now, I want to speak specifically to the kind of courses that we sell. Um, Most of them are technical. And so basically what you're going to do is you're going to give people more strategy. We're going to talk about that some tonight. If you can give them the how to leverage what they've done, let's say that, you've already taught them, let's say using our course, how to use MailChimp. And what you want to do is, well, now that you have this, let's talk about some ways that you can use MailChimp in your business so that you generate more sales. You're going to be talking about those things in a more strategy way in your workshop, right? Basically, you've taught them what to do. Now you're teaching them how to leverage it. That's what a post-sale webinar is doing. You really are providing more value. You're giving them more than what they paid for. So let's talk about the product that we have coming up on Saturday, the PLR. And I just kind of want to show you briefly what's going to be in there. And I'm not going to go through this a lot. I mean, it's a tentative video list. I'm just about done. And basically, it's going to show them how to do a live broadcast and connect it to an archive in iTunes. And it's going to go through some technical processes. If I have time, I'm actually going to get into Clubhouse as well as Twitter, Twitter Spaces. But I may not have time for that. But this is a tentative video list. They're going to be able then to work through the technical process of doing live broadcasts and getting it ready to build their business with it. So now that you understand that, right? So what do we want to kind of talk through? How can we bring people on a webinar? Let's say they've already bought that course, right? Let's say they've already learned how to do these things. And what you're going to do now is you're going to bring them on a workshop after they've purchased this, whether they watch it, whether they watch a recording, whether or not they do it live, however you prefer to do it. How are we going to do this? What kinds of things can we pre-sell, right? So, you've got all kinds of offers that you can make available to them. And you want to do more than just put links and make them available on the page. One of the things you're going to be doing in this pre-sale webinar, obviously, is you're going to be giving them a reason to get some of your other products, right? So the trick to this is, and I don't want to make it sound like you're trying to trick them, but you're really going to provide real value for them in the workshop. At the same time, you're going to tell them about other things that you have available that are related that they can get. So let's talk about what else they can get when they get Live Podcast Playbook. Well, we're going to be talking about YouTube Live. So if you have our YouTube Live course, this is one of the courses that you can use Live Podcast Playbook, which we're releasing on Saturday, to pre-sell, right? You can talk to them about YouTube Live. It'll be a logical conclusion. You do want to make it available inside of the member area or inside of your download page. MailChimp or any email course that we have done. I mean, we've done MailChimp and we've done Aweber. I think MailChimp is the most up to date. It's probably the best one to use to pre-sell. You can talk to them about that. We're probably going to be demonstrating MailChimp in the course. We just did a course called Audience Builder Masterclass, which is basically some expert presentations that you're going to be able then to reconfigure so that they learn how to use live broadcasting to build an audience. You can use our Zoom course, right? So this course, we're going to demonstrate one process using Zoom. So you'll be able to pre-sell the Zoom course. You can use Live Podcast Playbook to pre-sell StreamYard, right? Because we're going to be demonstrating StreamYard in this course. We also have a course called Streaming Video Playbook, and again, I know most of you all have these already, but you're going to be able to pre-sell that course using the course that's coming up on Friday. So again, these are things that you want to make sure that they are on your download page, that they are in the course. When you mention them, they're on the page where the videos are showing, however you tend to do it. We've also done Microsoft Teams, which actually also explains streaming video. So you can actually pre-sell that course. Also, again, these are all courses you probably already have. We did a course back with PLR experts called Host Your First Interview Show. It's probably a little dated, but the concepts are still there. So if you have that course, you'll be able to use Live Podcast Playbook to pre-sell that course, right? Because some of the principles are going to be in there. And then we did the iTunes podcasting course, and we are going to go into the connection that people are going to need to make between their content and a podcast aggregator as well as, a podcast connection like iTunes. But if you want to use this as an opportunity to get the entire 40 video course, you can actually use the course that's coming up on Saturday to pre-sell that course also. So the idea here is you want to start looking at your inventory. Anytime you bring somebody on to do an additional training, you want to look at your inventory and you want to say, what else makes sense for people to buy? And all the time, when you start deciding what you're going to launch, it's always a matter of building some kind of universe where if a person gets A, they want to get your B, C, and D because they're relevant. And so when you start deciding what to launch, you don't always just want to launch just on the basis of what's popular, right? That's a good thing, but if possible, you want to do what's popular and what interlocks with some of your other products and services that people can already get, right? So what else do you have along with what's popular that people are going to have? Because what that does is that means then they just bought something that's the A in the category, but there's also B, C, and D that's closely related. They're going to need those things too. That's how you're going to get additional sales, right? And you're also going to be able to pre-sell strategic marketing playbook. That's going to be in all the courses for that. So let's do what would be a pre-sell, right? So if I were to pre-sell live podcast playbook, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this a part of the offer, right? So this will probably be part of the upsell. I'm going to actually go through the pre-sell process with you. I'm going to edit this out. I'm going to make sure it's going to be ready to go if you want to use an automated webinar to sell live podcast playbook. So I just put this slide here so that I would know how to edit this out. So I'm going to break this up just so that you'll know what I'm about to do right now is technically I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to your customer right now. So when you get live podcast playbook, you're going to get this recording that I'm about to do with you. And you're going to be able to set this up as an automated webinar. But the other thing that I want to do is kind of talk you through what are you trying to accomplish in a pre-sell? And basically, if you remember what I talked about in strategic marketing playbook, the core 4 ideas. Number 1, that you are doing some kind of unique selling proposition. Number 2, that you are doing upselling. Number 3, that you are list building. And number 4, you're collaborating. And so basically, every time you do some kind of marketing effort, the way that you expand whatever it is that you're doing is you make sure that you create those 4 things. So by doing a post-sale webinar, what are we doing? We are strategically marketing by looking for opportunities to do what? Number 1, to make our product and my product and service unique. Right? Just by doing a pre-sale webinar, you will be putting and adding a USP to your product. Even if what you're offering is a service, if you were to do a post-sale webinar, you would be adding a USP. I often wonder that as a freelancer, what would it be like if you did a training for all of your customers, and even if they couldn't come live, they would then have a recording where you're going to tell them some of the benefits of something that you're teaching them on. Again, that's always going to set you apart. And I've always wondered why, it's something that, and actually, I'll take that back. A lot of really good copywriters, a lot of good freelancers, they do this, right? They offer training to the people that they're actually selling to. So again, this does not just lie in the realm of, of information products. A post-sale webinar, people that you've already sold to, bringing them on a training that gives you the opportunity to sell them more, that's what you want to do. So that's just sort of the why. So at this break, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record a session that's going to be part of Live Podcast Playbook. This is going to be the post-sale webinar, right? So, and again, I'm going to go back and edit this out, and I'm going to make sure that the transcript and the slides are available to people that actually get the course. So having said that, let me just grab a drink of water here. Okay, are there any questions before I start this? Once I start this, I'm not going to answer any questions until I'm done here. So are there any questions about what we're trying to accomplish, right? Any questions on post-sale webinar and about doing a post-sale webinar for live podcast playbook, right? So everybody sort of understands what I'm doing, right? So if that's good, then let's go ahead. So let's talk about leveraging live broadcasting profitably. Whatever you're doing, if you're doing some kind of live podcast, you will obviously want to do this in a way that's going to build your brand. You want to do this in a way that's going to generate more sales. And so you want to make it worth your time. And so the question is going to be, how do I make it worth my time? You may have seen, people doing Facebook Lives. You see them doing YouTube Lives, or they're streaming on Twitch or whatever they're doing. And you may feel like, well, maybe I'm missing out because I'm not doing those things because they're holding people's attention. Well, that could be the case as long as what they're doing is profitable. And so if you're going to get involved in doing live streaming, live podcasting, live broadcasting, you want to make sure you're doing it profitably. We're going to talk about that here in this session. Let's talk about some basic ways of broadcasting live. Let's talk about the types. And these are basic. You can probably think of others that I will not mention, but this is going to give you a general idea of the kinds of live broadcasts that you can do. You can do live audio. So maybe you have a face made for radio. If that's the case, you don't have to be on camera, but you can still do live audio. You can do live radio. So if you do and you look for live online radio or producing live online radio, you can do it typically from your personal computer without having to go into a studio. You can actually do it from wherever you are. Live radio is available. One of the more popular venues in order to do it is called Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio is a platform. It is an online platform that allows you to use your personal computer to broadcast live audio. That you can invite people to the live audio. You can invite them to the platform itself. You can invite people to your website if you pay, you pay the price in order to do that. You can invite people to a place where they can listen in live on what it is that you're doing. Blog Talk Radio is live audio. You can actually do Clubhouse. Now, the thing about Clubhouse is you are going to need to have permission from the people that are going to be part of your group. That might be a little tricky, but you can broadcast live. And a lot of people do that because it's a social platform. It's a popular social platform. It's one that's being frequented by celebrities. And sometimes you can have some of that rub off on you just by doing live audio in Clubhouse, right? So that's one way of being able to do that. Now, that would not necessarily constitute doing a podcast because you would have to get permission in order to capture that audio and then upload that audio to a place that you're going to be hosting, and then have that hosted audio driven into your iTunes or your podcast aggregator. Now, those are some steps that you'd have to take. But again, if you've had a fruitful conversation on Clubhouse, maybe you did some collaboration, that could be worth your time to do. It is a way to do it. Twitter Spaces is another way to do it. Once again, the steps are going to be the same. You're going to have to get permission from the people who are going to be there, who are participating, in order for you to capture the audio and then upload that audio to a place where you're going to host it, and then drive that hosting into a place where you're going to be getting it into iTunes. So it is a way to do that. You can do social video, right? That's a way of live broadcasting. And yes, there is a way to make it so that, you can get that into a live form, but it's a way of bringing people on to watch you live. You can do LinkedIn Live. You can do Facebook Live. You can do Instagram Live. And obviously there are ways to do this other than those platforms, but we're basically kind of capturing this under the banner of social video. This is a social media platform. It is free to broadcast. It is free to gather your people. It is free to have all of these things available to you in order to get to your audience. And obviously you can use a video platform and you can do it live. You can do YouTube Live, right? That's one of the things you can do. And again, I mean, some people would say that YouTube is a social platform, but it's probably more of a video platform first. And it is also a social platform. You could actually put that under social video. You can do a place like Twitch. Now, Twitch started out as being for gamers primarily, but people are building their audience that are not gamers, right? I think some people are doing cooking and all kinds of things there on Twitch and technology. So there are lots of ways of being able to live broadcast. In fact, we talked about Twitter Spaces. Now, if you just wanted to do a text broadcast, right now, I would not constitute this as a podcast, but you could do a text broadcast, and people do what are called Twitter chats, right? Where people are basically live blogging into a group and interacting with individuals in real time. So there are ways to even be able to do that by text if you don't necessarily feel comfortable doing audio, doing video, or doing social video live. But these are ways of being able to do live broadcast. One of the things that you are going to want to be good at is capturing attendee details. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, in order to get people to attend anything that you're doing live, if you're going to do a second broadcast live, anytime that you gather people in any way, shape, or form, whether they are your customers, whether they are your prospects, or they are your audience, you want to capture their contact details in order to keep them informed about what you're doing in the future. The primary way of being able to do that is going to be email. So you want to get good at moving people from whatever platform they meet you on and moving them into your email marketing list. You can do that also using social messaging applications in Facebook, right? So Facebook has Messenger. There are ways of using what are called chat bots. That's not quite the same as email, but it is a way of being able to communicate with people using a messaging system, right? And there are ways also of being able to use YouTube subscriptions by email, right? That's another way of being able to capture some kind of contact detail in order to keep in touch with people. But over and above everything else, here is the thing. You need to develop multiple ways for your listeners to connect with you via some kind of subscription. So you want people to be able to get a message, to hear about what you're doing, to go to a URL, to either watch or listen to you and or make a purchase. So however you do that, you want to use these mediums to move people into places where you are going to be able to contact them. And you should be doing this on a regular basis. So whether or not you choose to broadcast on a regular basis, which you should, you must be contacting and engaging your subscribers on a regular basis. Typically, you want to be engaging them on a daily basis. That's typically what it's going to take if you're going to see the kind of ROI from this that you want in order to make it worth your time. Very important point to make here. Don't depend on free social networks. It's not good. It's not prudent. It's not smart to depend on free social networks. And you should always be looking to bring people into ways of communicating where you have control over it. And this is going to be vital to understand. There are a number of people who start out on these platforms, and what happens is the platform, for whatever reason, they begin to develop policies that may have to squeeze out what it is you create. And there's no way to tell that up front. If you're not paying them anything, they don't owe you an explanation before they kick you off or before they say, hey, we're going to be discontinuing this. And I'm sorry if this affects your business, but we've got bigger fish to fry. That's basically what they say. It's not exact their exact words, but that's basically what they do say. And I'm going to put a marker on Facebook groups right now, not because they are the only ones, they're the most visible. Facebook groups aren't free, and they're easy to gather new people. People are already on the platform, so they feel comfortable joining these platforms. And so it's possible, though, that again, that platform, for whatever reason, right, could be totally out of your control. They find your content unacceptable. And so you don't want to build an entire group of people that solely communicate on Facebook only to find out that your content at some point becomes unacceptable, even if it is acceptable today. And as I said, this is not just Facebook in which I need to make this case. It's going to be true for all the other free social platforms. You cannot pay someone on Facebook in order to reinstate your account. If they do not want you there, they will not have you there. So here's what that means. You can and should be moving people to platforms you control and you pay for. That means Email services like MailChimp, you pay for that. If something goes sideways, you can contact them. And before they do anything, typically to your account, they've got to tell you because you paid them. Online communities like Mighty Networks and Circle, right? Circle's beginning to be more popular. This is a way of being able to socialize in places where you can have interactions around a certain topic, right? Building an online community, and obviously postal mail, right? So if you can send people an offer, if you can send people mail because you've got their mailing address, it's not necessarily as fast. It's not necessarily going to give you, let's say you're not going to be able to make a sale instantly, but if you can send people something and it doesn't depend on anybody else's platform, it only depends on you getting something to people in the mail, that's also a way of not having to rely on online or free social platforms. And so whenever possible, you've got to move people into these places where you control and that you're actually paying for a service that people are giving you in order to meet with your people. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to give up on social platforms. You use them as a gathering place. You use them to meet people, but you must get efficient at moving them into your own social platforms. That might take a while to learn how to do. And every business and every person is going to be different in the way they do that. But it's something that if you're going to use the platforms, you must get to be proficient and efficient at moving people onto these new platforms. Incentivizing and rewarding live attendance. This is something that you're going to need to do if you're going to make this worth your time. You need to make sure that people know that there is a good reason for having attended live. Otherwise, they might attend one day, but they might not attend the next, especially if you're going to be doing this on a regular basis. Is there anything that you can do that's going to be in their best interest that they're going to get just for having attended? That's important to do. Is there something that you can give them if they stay till the end? You'll see this often on sales webinars. And this is a practice that you should offer. This is something that you should do, that you should mimic people who do big sales webinars. They want to keep you on till the end because they're going to do the pitch at the end. Now, the same thing is going to be true for you. You're going to be giving people value. You want them to stay to the end. So what you want to do is you want to give them some incentive to do that. If you were selling something, can you give them some kind of premium or discount just for having attended? So, the people that didn't attend don't get the premium. They don't get the discount. Now, I mean, that's going to be a little difficult if you're doing a replay, but still, not everyone's going to watch the replay unless, you give them some kind of special premium or discount. Now, the best way to do that, of course, if you're going to be doing it on a regular basis, is to be known for that. So in other words, the time that someone comes to a second broadcast that you've done and they realize, well, every time this person does one, they do a little something special, I better make sure I get to see the replay in a timely fashion. But if you don't do that, what you're communicating to people that is not necessarily all that important. So you've got to say directly, and you've got to say indirectly that there are benefits for live attendance or replay attendance. And there should be something that's part of your broadcast that you can't get elsewhere. And this is what makes your broadcast into a USP. It also is a USP in and of itself. Now, you also need to make special offers on your broadcast. The live broadcast is always going to be this balance of making special offers and providing great content. Now you should let people know up front, directly and indirectly, this is not a charity. So you should feel comfortable making great offers throughout your broadcast. And the offers you make on live broadcasts, you should always have the basic elements if you want them to sell. Now, again, you can actually send people to any product that you have. I mean, that's good, but you should also send them to people, to offers from the live broadcast that have urgency. So in other words, people have to make them within a time period. Right? They've got to buy it within a time period. They should know that, there's some things that not everybody's going to get, even if they buy it, right? Urgency and scarcity, some kind of special premium. And sometimes you can do an added service, right? Just because, they attended your broadcast. You can do some kind of consultation for everyone that attends, right? I've seen that all they've got to do is they've got to make sure that they contact you with a certain code word or something like that. And then you're going to give the people that attended live. Now, I would not do this for the replay, but I would do it for people that attended live, some kind of consultation. And again, now, if you do some kind of routine broadcast, try to make some different kind of special offers each time. So don't be known for, the same things. So if you're going to do it, you can always do this easily by doing some kind of bonus, right? Because it's different. It's easy to vary that, right? So it's a different kind of bonus every time, just for having attended the call. Look for collaborative opportunities when you do these things. When you do live broadcasts, that will always expand your audience. It will expand your network. It will expand your sales opportunities. Combine audiences with people that are already doing live broadcasts. Do interviews with people, whether or not they have an audience or not. Right? If they have influence, interview them. Right? And do the interview so that they would be. They'd be crazy not to share it because you made them look so good. You can bring guests in to do presentations if you do video, right? So you can do affiliate promotions. So even if you don't have a guest, right, do an affiliate promotion. Now, this may be a little different, but again, if you're letting the person know, hey, I'm going to be doing a special broadcast and I'm going to be doing an affiliate promotion. Sometimes you will get the person to share out that broadcast and they're going to get sales from that. Right? So do an affiliate promotion, do a launch promotion. So in other words, someone's got a big launch coming up, and instead of just mailing out the launch, bring them on your live broadcast. If you can, do an interview, combine it with an interview so that they can answer questions live. So this is a way of being able to leverage that broadcast, leverage collaborative opportunities, and in some cases, that individual will share out your launch promotion with them. And you should be looking to provide excuses for someone else. This is what I mean by collaborative opportunities at its core. So if you're trying to figure out, well, what's the point of all this? You're looking to provide somebody an excuse to promote your broadcast. Right? You want to make it so that it would be ludicrous not to promote your broadcast and to share it out. And the more you can make it in someone else's best interest, it's the same as offering larger commissions for somebody who's promoting for you. So you can make it so that it's going to be in their best interest, if they share out your broadcast. So the more you can do that, the more you're going to find that people are going to be more cooperative and willing to share out that broadcast. Now, you also want to wall off premium content. You're going to make this worth your time. Find ways to separate out premium and non-premium content. Make both available when you do live broadcasts. This is going to be not necessarily technical, but you have to find some kind of way that if you do a live broadcast, sometimes you're going to need to take that broadcast down. So in other words, it's not going to be available for replay. So maybe you do it live, but you tell people, after 24 hours, this broadcast is going to come down. Now, why are you going to do that? Well, because you want to pull that content behind a paywall. You want to make it premium. So be willing to do that with certain kinds of live broadcasts that you do. Sometimes what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to do the collaboration, let's say, apart from your live broadcast. So, once you have someone on, what you do is you say, well, hey, after this, we're going to stop the conversation here and we're going to continue on our conversation. And maybe you go on for another 30 minutes to an hour with that individual. That's going to be premium content. You don't want to give that to the people on the live broadcast. In other words, don't do everything so that you give away all of your great content on a live broadcast. And, and that's sort of what I mean by cutting room content. So in other words, some stuff goes into your live broadcast and you replay. Some stuff you cut out, but that stuff that you cut out sometimes can be made into premium content that you can use to leverage and to at least use to get an opt-in, right? So any document that you create as a result of your live broadcast, anyone. So don't ever give a document away. So whatever your PDF is, do not, under any circumstances, just make it available for people to download from the actual broadcast. At minimum, it's got to be for an opt-in. So you don't have to sell everything, but don't ever give away a PDF. It would be rare when you give away a PDF based on the content you're sharing during a live broadcast that you're going to give it to people just because they attended. At minimum, it needs to be for an opt-in, right, to get their contact details. And then, of course, whenever people get that freebie or any freebie from you, look for opportunities to upsell individuals into something that's going to be relevant. So people opt in, and then they should immediately be shown some kind of information, product, or offer of yours. So don't waste the opportunity, because some people are going to get the PDF, they're going to get the freebie, and you're never going to see them again. And so one of the ways in which you can gauge whether or not you have been successful at being able to engage them, to make yourself likable, is to show them an offer. Most people are not going to be, they're not going to be offended by that, right? They've gotten your freebie, you've given them the value you promised them. You want to make sure that they immediately get sent to something that you give them the opportunity to sample what it is by pulling out their PayPal account or their credit card, right? Give them that opportunity. Now, you're probably going to have to use some kind of funnel software strategy. So, if you have a way of building some kind of funnel, or you have some way of building a case where someone opts into your list, it gets sent to an offer. In most cases, you can do that inside the actual email service provider. But if you don't have that, you can typically do this with some kind of software. Okay, last thoughts about these things. Just as an aside, just assume people are going to listen to your videos when you do a live broadcast. What does that mean? Just try to make it so that people don't always have to watch what you're doing. Also, when you do that, make sure your URLs are easy to understand. If necessary, don't use your home domain. Get a URL that's going to make it easy to for the hearer to remember it easily, right? So just get one of those URLs. Broadcasting is a long-term strategy. So you don't have to do high pressure sales if you're doing a training on a regular basis. But you can and should monetize it for ROI, but just don't always push people from that kind of broadcast into some kind of higher pressure, higher ticket sale, right? Another miscellaneous thought, the medium. So in other words, whether you do Facebook Live versus podcasting versus blog talk radio, that might seem important, but what's more important is consistency. So the medium is not going to be as important as being consistent. It's hard to see that until you really start doing it on a regular basis, but it's just true. Once you've done it for a year, or you've done it, every Thursday night, let's say for the last 30 weeks, it's really going to be less important how you do it and that you're doing it every week. And that's how you're going to get leverage for what it is you're doing. And you're going to be able to get people to trust you enough to take your recommendations seriously in order to buy them. And you got to make sure to keep revenue as your measure. So, and yes, it is a miscellaneous thought, but it's an important one. You might get to the point where you're measuring downloads and you're measuring how many people are listening. And that's great. But typically you're doing this because it is a way of being able to promote your business. And what you want to do is you want to try to, the best you can, measure if your live broadcast is helping you to make more sales. That's what you've ultimately got to measure. Now, unless you're trying to do some kind of audience-based business where what matters is your audience, and what you're trying to do is get sponsorship by building up a big audience, which your sponsor will have access to that audience. That is a business model. That's typically not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is using your broadcast in order to get leverage and build your brand. And so what you're going to do that, you're going to have to measure something that's a bottom line number. And that bottom line number is going to be, how are you making more sales as a result of your broadcast? So we talked about that URL earlier on. Try to set up that URL as a way to track if the flow of people from your live broadcast are going in order to make purchases, right? So that's really one of the reasons why you want to set up that separate URL. And sometimes you want to set it up apart from your regular URL because you want to see, are people clicking on those links, using those links in order to go to places, in order to buy things, right? So, and some of that's going to be, a little sophisticated on how you set up your tracking, but at minimum, you can use that URL to figure out, are people clicking on the links? Are they going to pay places in order to buy things? Now, there is a list of additional resources that you are going to have access to. Some of the things that we have talked about in the technical course, some of the things that we have talked about tonight, you can get access to them in the list of additional resources. Okay, so that's a break. I'm going to break that. So that's the end of the presentation. So that is how I would do a post-sale webinar for our upcoming product, right? And as I said, I'm going to edit that. I'm going to make it part of the product. Maybe it'll be, maybe it'll be part of the advanced version. So, you can use it that way. So any questions about what we did? Any questions about doing a post-sale webinar or training? Any questions? Okay, so Saturday morning, live podcast Playbook PLR will be available to you at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And obviously, if you are part of our daily newsletter, you will get advance notice of this. The best thing that we can do to help you in your business, help you in your brand, is help you to position yourself as an educator. You can do that at the plrshow.com/ultimate insiders. We have something new where we're actually training you on how to do your own launch, right? And so you can get access to that at plrshow.com/CTVD, right? New Marketer Workshop Launch. And there's a PLR course out by Fire Launchers. You can get that at plrshow.com/VFire. And of course, make sure you're part of our daily newsletter. You can do that at the plrshow.com. Make sure you are signed up there. And then we do have a list of recommended books available, plrshow.com/books. If this has been helpful for you in any way, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. If you go to plrshow.com/shout, give us a shout out. We like to use this on our sales pages, on our workshop pages, let people know that we are giving people value, right? Hey, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Mike. I appreciate the words of encouragement. Appreciate it. All right. Any other questions? And yes, we like all words of encouragement. We like all words of encouragement, right? We like those. So if you don't have questions, you can send those too. So any other questions? Okay, everybody. Well, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me here. Thank you for hanging with me during our technical glitches. Have a great night. Pleasant tomorrow. Take care.